Welcome to the Promote Your Inner Woman to Success program, a program designed to help women excel in life and in business, authentically, faster, and with ease. I'm Mickey Ruthman, and on today's podcast, myself and my co-host Christine Overby will have another insightful discussion about the unique challenges that we as women face in business and in life, and the tools that you can use to be all that you can be and to live the life that you want. So pour a cup of coffee, get comfortable, kick off your heels, and let's dive into this week's topic.
Hello, ladies, and welcome to today's episode where we will tap into the key to authentic self-confidence. But before we dive into this exciting subject, I would love to introduce my absolutely amazing co-host, Mickey Ruthman. Hello, Mickey.
Hello, Christine, and hello, ladies. So nice to be back.
So good to be back. So authentic self-confidence is so crucial in everyday life.
Absolutely, Christine. I think it plays a really huge role in sort of our day-to-day activities, our businesses, our relationships, and I think even to an extent the decisions we make and the mindset that we have.
Absolutely. And I know that by myself, through my own journey where I didn't have the authentic self-confidence, maybe I just had what I thought was a self-confidence, that you have built up about, your identity and things you have been holding on to since my youth and who I thought I was, who I thought I had to be. But at one point, I understood that it is not my authentic self-confidence. It's not a self-confidence that are sustainable. It was built upon what I thought others thought about me, what they wanted me to be, that I thought I had to be. But at one point in my life, I also came back to the point where I needed to find out who am I and who do I want to be, and start asking those questions to come back to myself and build the self-confidence from there. I don't know if you had the same experience when it comes to this, Mickey.
Absolutely, Christine. Being a woman in the business world is quite difficult sometimes because, of course, you are expected by others to have a lot of self-confidence, especially when you're, going out there and negotiating and closing deals and you're working with staff and you've got to have rules and people have to kind of, stick to the company rules and things like that. So I think what happened to me is you almost build not a false sense of self, but exactly what you said, you become who you think other people expect you to be. And it feels like self-confidence, but I think that at some stage you realize that it's a role you're playing. It's almost an alter ego that comes out when you are playing that role of the businesswoman.
Absolutely.
And it never becomes authentic until you actually sit down and you identify that and you start working on it.
Absolutely. And it is very interesting because I remember that well because I've done a lot of things since I was 14 years old, and a lot of things that I remember people came up to me and like, wow, Christine, you have done so much, you have this self-confidence, I'm so looking up to you, I'm so inspired by you. And I can see what they were coming from. But I also understood, like you said, Mickey, and what I just said as well, at one point I found out that I was just playing a role that I learned to play. But there was something missing. I felt empty inside somehow. And basically that was what I came back to when I got a little bit older. And I figured out that, wow, I can't live like this. I can't do this anymore. And it's a very interesting journey. And I think everyone can relate to that somehow in their life, that something is missing. They're not authentically themselves and feel good about it.
Yes, I think at some point, if you're not being authentically self-confident, besides that, other people might not be able to see that, but I think they do pick up on it. But at some stage, you kind of start feeling unfulfilled because it's not like you're going out there every day and you're being you and doing what you do authentically. And I think that's where the journey starts to start working on it, is something inside you starts telling you that I'm not comfortable or I am not being who I'm supposed to be. It becomes tedious because it is a role you're playing. It tires you.
Mhm.
You know, when you're being yourself, you just kind of have a lot of energy, and you always have joy and you always have peace. But when you're playing a role and it's not authentic, you tend to find that it drains your energy because you've got to focus on playing that role all the time. And I think that is where most of us should find sort of the first sign of that we need to work on this, is when, you know, being who you have to be every day becomes something that is tiring. It means that it's not being authentic at that stage.
Yeah. And I also think that in the moment, and this was a breakthrough for me, was in the moment I found the understanding of, can I say, human suffering, or this way of playing a role and the self-destructive habits. The more when I understood how and came to the clarity of how this was connected, and I found understanding of happiness and how to build that self-confidence, it became so much clearer and easy, because I think that we are so self-destructive and self-critical that we destroy our human nature, the human, the beautiful human we are behind and beyond the thoughts that we believe to be true in that moment. Our brain is trained to search for things that is not working. It is trained to look for negative things. And that, scientific research can show to that. And what they also can show to, which is good news, is that we can train our brain to look for the positive, that eventually will increase our happiness level, or optimism and hope and self-confidence and, physical health and everything, so much more. And it is amazing to see how easy it actually can be in the moment we just tap into the honesty of who am I and who do I want to be, and start from within.
Absolutely, Christine. And I would like us to get into that, because I think that is what the ladies want to know most today is, so where do I start? How do I get authentic self-confidence? And before we jump into that, I just want to mention that, I think self-confidence and low self-esteem, when you really sit down and you start drilling into it, you start realizing that it is actually just a lie in your mind that you're believing. It is something that you think other people are seeing about you or thinking about you that you perceive. And the interesting thing is, when you start doing experiments around that, you realize that the way you think they're seeing you and the way that you think they are perceiving you is just your perception. And that the way that they actually see you is very, very different to how you perceive yourself. So I do think it comes down to that. But Christine, I would like to ask you a question is, why do you think it is that so many, especially women, struggle with self-confidence?
Well, I have to, for me to answer that, I have to tap into myself and look at how it was for me. I think that's the only way I can speak from my truth and behalf of my clients as well when I work with them. And I think basically for me, it was about the pressure. Women in general have a lot of pressure during our lives, what we have to achieve, what we have to do, what we have to be. You know, we, it is, like I said earlier, that it is all about the habit of thinking about the negative things, what is not good enough. And that is how our brain is trained. It is not before we are able to turn that habit and create new habits and have a new daily focus that will change this, and where we actually can start to build our authentic self-confidence. Because in the moment we start to create new habits and have a daily focus on what I actually can do, our strength, what I'm good at, what I am, and what I love about myself, when we start to do that, we start to see ourselves, we start to appreciate ourselves. And I think that was the way I started slowly but surely to build my real authentic self-confidence, and having the coping strategies, having the coping tools, and to show myself that I can actually do it. That was the moment I started to build that muscle, that I can do this. I am good. and I'm good at this, and this is what I should focus upon, what I'm good at. Well, where is my strength? What can I contribute with? You know? So in the moment I started to focus on this, I started slowly and build my self-confidence. And I can see that with my clients as well. I do have corporate clients, and I can see how this also affect my clients when it comes to their individual performance, and how it affects their corporate results as well. Because in the moment we started to have our coaching sessions, when I started to coach my leaders, they came to me and they said to me, like, Christine, I'm at a point now where I feel really burned out. There's so much pressure, there's so much responsibility, and I come to a point where I feel I'm not a good leader. I'm not a good leader for my employees. And I asked her, why do you say so? And she says, because I can see how they react. I can see what they're saying. And I said, so you search for the evidence of you being not a good leader in what they actually say and think about you. And I had a coaching client last week. It was our first coaching session, and she said yes. And I said, okay, well, before we go into that, let us just tap into how our mind behaves, how our brain is structured, and there we need to start there. So I said to her, why do you think you are a good leader? What is your why you're doing this? And what is your strength? And we used an hour to drill into her strength, all her strength and all her whys, not just in business, but also in her life as a wife, as a mother. What is your why? What makes you wake up every morning and feeling that life is good and that you are good? And when we tapped into it, and let me say this just as a note to this, that this is the most challenging exercise my clients have got, to go into and looking at the strength, to look into their why and their vision for life, because we're not used to it. And I think that comes back to what you asked me as well, Mickey, is that we're not used to thinking about all the good things we are, because that is not how our brain behaves before we actually make a change to it, before we actually start to create new habits and see it for what it is, and start to build that muscle, to have another focus instead of just focusing on what is not working. I mean, that woman, my client, the other week, her eyes, started to glow, and I can see her energy level was so high. She raised her energy just by starting to dig into how good she is. And then during this session, we also looked at her weaknesses, or the limiting thoughts that she told me early in that session, that what her thoughts about the employees, what they are thinking about her as a leader, that made her think that she was a bad leader. And we went into those thoughts as well, and we started questioning them, to see, what is this about? Can she absolutely know that is true, that is what they perceive her as a leader? And during this session, working most on turning the habits to look at the strength, and make her also commit to do this every day for the next 2 weeks. During that session, she got kind of a epiphany, an aha moment, where she kind of, wow, I actually thought that one of my employees that I thought was so negative, that I was so pissed at, because she didn't like me as a leader as well. And that she started to see that it's not about the employee, it's about how she is perceiving that employee, and what, the energy and what she think about the employee that makes her suffer, because she is actually underestimating herself, and then she projects that on the employee. So she said to me, you know what, now when I come back to work, I'm just going to give her a hug. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to say this, and just be honest about it, because I'm a person, and this is what I'm good at. And she's a human. And I said to her, you have to call me afterwards and let me know how it is, and know that I'm here as your support. So just call me so I can be here for you in that process. And she called me afterwards, and she was, really thriving. She was like, Christine, I came to work and I did exactly what I said to you that I wanted to do. And you should see her face. It was like the energy, the negative energy, this resistance that had been going on for so long just disappeared. And I could see that just I changed my approach because I was coming from a different place now, a different space and understanding. I could see that something happened in her as well. And I know that that is not my business, that my business is actually to take responsibility of my thoughts, what I am thinking and what I am feeling and projecting. But just watching her and what was, something was happening in her as well. And then she told me that she was just standing there looking at her employees after that, and she could see that they were finally just standing together, having a great time laughing. And she said, Christine, this is amazing. I don't know if I was capable to see this before because I was so, stuck and trapped in my thoughts about what I thought they were thinking and that I was a bad leader. So it is amazing to see, and I see this over and over again, and I see in my own work as well, because I do the mindset thing every day, the mindset work every day, because we all go out of comfort zone every day, or at least I do that because I really want to discover and explore more of life and what I can do. And when you do that, you meet new, fears, you meet new limiting thoughts that you haven't been investigating before. So we have to do the work. And what I see all the time is that in the moment we take responsibility of what I think, what I feel, what I perceive and what I project on other people, in the moment I take that responsibility, I do this transformational magic inside of me. And that is so freedom when you see that you can make that change if you really do the work. And that is so amazing. In that moment, I can see, I've been talking to my clients after last week as well, and I know with myself that after that, you start to increase your authentic self-confidence because you really tap into the reality of you can master this. You have the coping skills. So whatever happens, as long as I just do the work, I will make changes. I have the power to do it. It's up to, it's up to me to build that muscle. And when you do that, everything changes. Everything, your focus, your feeling about yourself, your energy level, what you actually see and perceive, and yeah, it's amazing. It is amazing transformational journey. And that is the key to really build an authentic self-confidence. It always comes back to you have to start with yourself.
I can fully relate. And I mean, you're very right in saying that people struggle with, looking at themselves in a positive way. I mean, I've had some of my clients just make a list of, sit down and from your heart write down who it is you believe you are, what you believe your value is. And it really is something that they struggle with. And I think what happens in terms of self-confidence is when you're dealing with self-confidence and you kind of realize that it's self-confidence you need to work on, you're on the right track turning it inwards because, yes, the work starts in you. But I think we're negatively turning it inwards at this stage because what happens is instead of turning it around and saying, I need to see how I see myself and how I perceive myself, we look at it as, but why is this person seeing me that way? So we're turning it inwards, but in the wrong way. And I think that you're very right as well that, self-confidence is something that you will be working with every single day of your life. I don't think it's something you master 100% in 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 sessions because, throughout life, you're going to be facing new situations. You're going to be facing change. And, we need to grow and change along with our circumstances and along with our change that is happening around us. And like you were saying is when you go into a new environment and you're challenging yourself, you will meet more sort of limiting thoughts that you need to work on. And I mean, if I take myself, for instance, every time I start a new business or a new venture, I am faced with self-confidence again. Although I have built many businesses and I've helped many of my clients build a lot of businesses, there is always that little bit of self-doubt somehow because especially when it's something new that I'm starting or something that, I haven't got a lot of experience in to do. And I think it is natural to question ourselves in that moment, but it is really key and important to sit down and question that thought and, to work on it, because it's never just a passing thought. It can actually affect you so much going forward in a project or in whatever it is that you're busy doing if you don't work on that thought immediately when you identify it.
Absolutely, and it's so right. And I would love to actually just demonstrate how it feels when you believe a negative thought about yourself. Just to, I just invite everyone just to tap into it. If I have a belief, if you have a belief that you are not good enough as a leader, we all, when we have a thought like that, we have many thoughts attached to it. So it's not just that I'm not a good leader, but we also find we also find evidence for why that is true and why we believe it so much. And often those evidence is found in what other people have said, what other people have done towards you before. It's about the results you have been creating before that didn't work. So your mind finds, it is just like this. You see what you believe. So if you believe you're not a good leader, if you believe that you are not enough, that you don't have it, whatever you believe about yourself, that is exactly what you will find evidence. Your mind will scan the room for evidence for that. And I promise you, you will find it. And just if you for a moment just go in and think, I am not good enough as a leader, or I'm not good enough as a woman. If you just tap into that feeling and ask yourself, what happens inside of you emotionally, physically, when you think that thought? What is happening inside of you? If you just, as an invitation, go in and just be honest with yourself, what is happening? And if I go into that thought, I am not good enough as a woman or as a leader, I can see that I make myself so small, and I can also actually physically feel that in my chest, that it's hurting. I can feel small, I feel hurt. I also feel like I don't know what to do. And I can feel that I get nervous in my stomach. I can feel I get heavy in my head. And not in that, dramatically way, but I can really sense it, what I'm doing, and how do I treat myself when I go into that thought? I am the one treating myself like I'm not enough. And that is what I'm doing with myself. And what I often ask my clients when we go into these questions, which is the work of Baron Katie, which is the best tool I ever done or have experienced when it comes to questioning thoughts. After that, ask them, who would you be without that thought? And really just tap into that. Who would you be? Who would I be without that thought that I'm not a good leader? What I automatically go into and tap into then is just I'm just me, and I'm just here discovering. I can feel that I'm not putting that pressure on myself. We keep doing this, and we turn it around, we do the work, and it is an amazing way, very simple yet powerful way to go in and question your thoughts and turn it around and witness and experience what else can be true than what you're actually believing in this moment. Because as long as we believe something consciously and unconsciously, there's no way we can actually feel something different. We have to investigate it. We have to question that thought to see if there can be something more to it, if that is actually the reality or if it's just how the mind is playing us. In that way, I also have this favorite metaphor that I always been using for many years and still is my favorite. And what I also always tell myself and my clients as well is that you are the sky, the blue sky. That is you. And sometimes it comes black clouds, gray clouds, white clouds. They're coming to you to pass. And it might disturb your sight. It might disturb your experience, your perception, your feeling about it. But they are coming, they come to pass. They come and they go. Those clouds are your thoughts. They come and they go. But they're not you. You are the clear sky behind seeing it all, the one witnessing them, watching them, experiencing them. but you are there just watching. You're perfectly fine, and all is good. It's just clouds coming to pass and gives you an experience, but you're still the one watching it. And I think that metaphor very simply explained the feeling when you start questioning your thoughts, just to see what is this. And coming from that perspective, coming from that space within, instead of being in these thoughts and reactions all the time. And I also think that that's why meditation is so important, that you really should start meditating if you're not doing it. Because in meditation, you train this muscle to be more, you, the sky behind, and less trapped and lost in those thoughts and reactions and feelings all the time. You become more and more the observer, just watching them. And that is freedom. It really opens up a new way of thinking, the perspective. And also from there, you start to build your authentic self-confidence, and it's a sustainable self-confidence. It's nothing that anyone can take away from you, because you're building it from within, of how you're mastering your negative beliefs and thoughts, and how you take yourself from something that is hurting and turning it around into something that really is precious and feels good and deliberating. So I think that the only way to really create a good, authentic self-confidence is to start there. First of all, start to train your brain, because this is scientific research. They can show you how the brain is working. You have to firstly start to train your brain to think more positive. And that can be done by doing 5 minutes every day gratitude exercise, or start to surround yourself with positive people, or you can start to list all your strength, and all your whys, and what you want to be, not what you think is expected of you or what other people would love you to be. And write those lists and put it somewhere, over your bed, or in your kitchen, your bathroom, whatever, where you know that you're going to pause it every day, consciously and unconsciously. Read it every day. Remind yourself every day how good you are. Because in this way, you start to restructure your brain. So you start automatically to think more positively. And this is scientific research. So it's nothing to question. It's just start doing it. And secondly, you have to, for me, it was very critical to also go in to see, what am I believing? What am I actually believing? And start to questioning those thoughts and do the alchemist process, the transformation there. And you have the opportunity to do it every day. It doesn't matter how your circumstances are or what other people say, do in your life. It's all about you. You have the power all the time. You have the ability to do this every day. It's just about taking action and start doing it, and you will build it, and you will feel it from day one. I can promise you that.
Christina, I love your analogy about the clouds, because, if you had to scientifically look at a cloud itself, if you have to go into a cloud, physically into the cloud, there's a lot of turbulence inside a cloud. Enough turbulence to actually rip off the wing of a plane, and we all know what happens to a plane that doesn't have a wing. So I definitely love that analogy, is to realize that you are not the cloud, that the cloud is something that is just going to pass, and to kind of not go into the cloud where the turbulence is. And I mean, I tell this to a lot of my clients as well, is, it becomes a vicious cycle. If we don't work on these thoughts, if we don't identify these thoughts, if we don't go internal and start realizing ourselves who we really are and what we are really worth, it kind of becomes a vicious cycle, because when you feel like you're worthless, you act worthless. And when you act worthless, other people treat you worthless. And that is almost, again, like the mind is going tick, confirmation you are worthless, and you continue to act worthless. And it becomes such a vicious cycle. And only you can stop that cycle, because it starts with you. It starts internally. It starts with identifying the thoughts that you have. It starts with really getting to know yourself better and believing who you know you are deep down. And you know what? When you start sitting and doing these types of exercises, and when you sit down and you make a list of who you truly believe you are deep down, when you start digging deep, you're going to write stuff down that you almost kind of want to go, am I sure I want to write that down about myself? But that is actually your deepest belief about yourself. And it is such a powerful exercise because, like you said as well, put it up, have a look at it every day, remind yourself, because things are going to happen and people are going to come into your life. And you are in control. You are the person who is in control of you, not of somebody else. And only you can change that. Only you can work on that. And I think that is 100% the key.
Absolutely, absolutely, Mickey, and you're so right. And I think we can, go on like this for hours. I love to talk about this subject and things like this, but we don't have time for that now. So what we would love to do, ladies, is to invite you to a live webinar with us where we can dive into this together. We would love to help you and talk about different challenges that you meet, your unique challenges that you meet in your life, in your business. And you got the chance here together with us to go through it and ask us questions, and we will help you during that call. So we would love to invite all of you ladies to a live webinar with us where we can continue this discussion about building your authentic self-confidence, but also anything else you would love to talk about.
Absolutely. And so looking forward to getting to know some of our listeners. We've received so many great emails and messages about the aha moments that the listeners have had, but we would love to get to know you ladies a little bit better and spend a bit of one-on-one time with you, get to know your challenges that you're facing, and really help you dig down into those so that we can start working on them and start progressing forward. Really, really looking forward to the webinar. And if you would like to join us on the webinar, just click on the link in the description of the podcast below and sign up for the webinar. You will get an email to remind you about it again, but we are so looking forward to seeing you there.
So looking forward to seeing you there. And this is a journey to freedom. And we would love to see you there.
It has been so great. Thank you so much. I think that this is a key topic that we spoke about today because it really does affect every area of our lives. And I think we are definitely going to have such a great time on the webinar as well. But looking forward to seeing all of the ladies next week and to seeing you again next week.
I'm so looking forward to see you all next week. And next week, we are going to talk about conflict resolution, how to resolve conflict. Because when we are going through change, when we start to head the direction we want to go in life, we start to work on ourselves. We start to get challenges when it comes to other people because we are in a change. And we get resistance from different situations. And that is what we really want to tap into next week with you. So make sure you come and listen to our next episode about conflict resolution. And I can't wait to see you all next week.
Thank you so much, Christine. And thank you to the ladies. Looking forward to seeing you all next week.
See you next week.
Thank you for joining us on this week's Promote Your Inner Woman to Success program. Join us again next week as we discuss yet another unique challenge that we as women face in business and in life, with lots more actionable steps and tools that will help you excel faster and with ease. For more information about our coaching program and membership program, visit our website at www.yougotpromoted.com or connect with us on social media. Remember, in authenticity lies your success. See you all next week.